Yo, what's up, Shelf Squad? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today, we are going to look at some new cards that got revealed in Paradox Rift that are going to be pretty interesting, including a brand new card that, well, it's not really a brand new card, but it is going to change the format completely, in my opinion, and it's definitely going to be a big inclusion within the game. If y'all are new here to the Shuffle Squad, make sure to leave a like on the video, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe down below, and check out all of our sponsors down below, too, if you haven't already, and let's get into the new card reveals.
Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes.
All right, let's look at some of these new cards that are coming out in our Paradox Rift set. And Paradox Rift is right around the corner. I mean, we got pre-releases coming up like next weekend almost. So they are coming up pretty fast, and it's going to be exciting to see what cards are going to be good. So we'll take a look here at some of the new cards that got revealed within our new set. Starting things off, we do have a new Toedscruel here, which is an interesting anti-Shenpao card. It's got the ability, I'm not going to bother pronouncing that. Cards in your opponent's discard pile can't be put in their hands through the effects of trainers or abilities. So essentially, Toedscruel is going to shut off Superior Energy Retrieval, which is kind of insane. And you can also shut off other cards like Clara, Energy Retrieval, which, can be detrimental to decks like Rapid Strike. But for the most part, you're shut off basically the only way that Shenpao is able to take constant KOs. Now, is Toedscruel the greatest counter to Shenpao? It's okay. I mean, are you going to play it just to tech for Shenpao, though? Shenpao is a deck that is catching a bit of popularity. It was on the graphic, I think, for Sacramento day one. So, people are playing it. But you really need to tech a 1-1 line just to try to beat Shenpao. I mean, the other problem is, too, they have Cross Switcher. They'll just knock your Toedscruel out. It is an interesting counter, though, nonetheless, to the Shenpao. And I think that it's definitely an interesting card to take a look at. And if you're already playing Toedscruel EX in your deck, maybe you can squeeze one of these Toedscruels in. Because, I mean, being able to, counter Shenpao that hard is kind of cool. It's not a perfect counter by any means, because they still have Shivery Chill and Super Rod, and it's not guaranteed. But shut off, Superior Retrieval is going to make it really hard for them to sometimes hit those big knockouts. Maybe this card could be good in Charizard, so that it's harder for Shenpao to knock out a Charizard EX in one hit. Next up, we do have a new Magmy here. It is a baby Pokemon like Cleffa, and it's got the attack Gradual Heater. During your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, even if it's knocked out, put 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Not bad. I mean, if you combine that with Vengeful Punch, it's 100 damage, which could be kind of funny, but overall, it's just a baby Pokemon at the end of the day. I think Cleffa still the superior baby Pokemon. We do have a brand new Armarouge EX here, which is awesome. I like Armarouge. Glad it's getting some love. It's got the ability Crimson Armor. When this Pokemon is at full HP, it takes 80 less damage from attacks. So that basically means that, it's got 200 or 340 HP at full health, which is kind of cool. I mean, 340 HP at full health is pretty bulky for a Stage 1 Pokemon. And then, of course, you have Scorching Bazooka, which is very reminiscent of Centiskorch VMAX, which infamously was a pretty good deck back in the day, with Scorching Bazooka doing 40 plus 4 more damage for each energy, for each fire energy attached to this Pokemon. And that's pretty strong. I mean, like Centiskorch, it did the same thing, but Centiskorch allowed you to put extra energy in play, but Armarouge does have cards like Magma Basin. It's got the other Armarouge that allows you to move energy from the bench. It's got Pogo Charizard. There's actually quite a few combos Armarouge does have. So Armarouge isn't a bad card by any means. I think it's pretty fine, and it's not bad. I'm excited to see it. It's pretty bulky with that ability being active, and then of course the attack. You just got to try to build up energy. I think it's probably going to be best with Pogo Charizard, to be honest. Maybe even Charizard EX splashed in the middle. And it is nice that we already have another Armarouge in the format to help support the Armarouge EX. We have a new Golisopod EX. Now, Golisopod has seen some pretty good cards before, and this card, we'll see if it's any good. Obviously, it's got the attack Aqua Blade, which is just for 2 colors, just 70. Its main attack, though, Strategic Retreat for a Water and a Double Turbo. Does 170 damage. You discard 1 energy from this Pokemon. If you do, switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. So it is another hit and run attacker, and hit and run can work right now. I mean, being able to do 170 damage isn't bad. You are a water Pokemon. It actually would have been better if Golisopod was a grass type, like it was back in the day with the GX, because at least it could have hit Charizard for weakness. Water just doesn't really hit much for weakness right now in our meta. But it is a hit and run deck, meaning that you can go into certain cards like Mimikyu and Klefki, which can be pretty annoying. You can go into Palkia or Snorlax with block to be even more annoying. So Golisopod does have some cool synergistic cards in the game that it does work with. I think it's fine, right? I mean, it sucks you have to get rid of an energy though when you retreat it. That basically means you have to keep up with the energy attachments. That's I think one of Glisspot EX's big downsides is that yeah, you have to discard the energy. So you have to use like a water and a double turbo potentially, and then you have to get rid of the water energy every time. And then you have to reattach a water. I don't know. It's like kind of annoying you have to do that. It's okay. It's not the worst card ever. It is a water Pokemon, so at least it does have synergy with like other water types in the format, like Palkia V-Star, which is nice. But I think overall Glisspot is just kind of mid. I like it though, but it is mid overall. Even though I am a bit of a Glisspot fan, this one is just kind of just it is what it is. It's a hit and run card, right? Being able to go into Mimikyu can be pretty cool, but we'll have to see if it's gonna be any playable. We got a new Veluza here with the ability Cut for the Job. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and gets knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, move 2 Water Energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. And its attack Hydro Pump does 60 plus 20 more damage for each Water Energy already on it. So, not a bad attack. I mean, you can do 120 with 3. It's a nice one-price stacker. Being able to conserve the Water Energy is actually kind of cool. I mean, there are some uses for that. Maybe this could be played within, like, Shenpao or something, where you can use Veluza early on, and then you can move to the water. So, you kind of conserve the Water Energy in play. And then this might help you later on when you try to go for a big Shenpao knockout, because you do get to keep 2 Water Energy, which is an extra 120 damage for Shenpao. And you can kind of just do the rest from there with like Shivery Chills. So definitely a decent ability. It's probably just going to be used for Shenpao. I don't know if it's like any good otherwise. I mean, I guess you can play it by itself, because I mean, you can conserve a lot of Water Energy that way. Yeah, Veluza's okay. It's not a bad card by any means. Definitely, it's fine. It's kind of my best score of it. It's fine. We do have a new Altaria EX too, which is kind of cool. Altaria getting some love here. It's got the ability Humming Heal. Once you're in turn, you can heal 20 damage from each of your Pokemon. That's not bad either. This ability does stack, so of course, if you have like 2 or 3 Altarias in play, you're going to be healing like 80 damage a turn on all your Pokemon. Pretty good when you're playing its Lost Zone variants or any deck that tries to like spread damage like Rapid Strike or something. Its attack is okay. It does 140 damage during your opponent's next turn, prevent all effects of attacks of damage done to your opponent's Pokemon or this Pokemon, meaning that you kind of like prevent stuff like Star Requiem, and also Lost Mine. This could be good in Regidrago V-Star, just to copy Light Pulse, because if you're playing against Giratina V-Star with Regidrago, I mean, you can do all the Gudras you want. They're just going to Star Requiem you, but when you have Light Pulse, you can Regidrago copy Light Pulse instead and then prevent Lost Mine or Star Requiem that way. It's not terrible, but then they'll still one-shot your... probably not, actually. I take that back. Actually, I don't know if this is good in Regidrago, but overall, Altaria EX is a fine card. I think its ability is just better than its attack, because it does stack. If you have a bunch of Altarias in play, you can heal a ton of damage a turn. You have Radiant Serena as another, like, heal card, which is kind of cool, so not a bad EX at all. It's not the greatest card ever. I don't think its attack is very good, unfortunately, but I do think the ability is pretty sweet. We got another EX here with Maushold EX. This is a very, very unique card here. So Maushold has the ability Solidarity. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon for each of your Tandemaus and Maushold, including the EXs you have in play. So if you have like a full board of the Mouses in play with Mausholds and Tandemauses, your opponent's going to be taking a lot of damage for attacking you, and that's pretty cool. You also, of course, can combine this with Vengeful Punch, so that if they were to knock out Maushold, I mean, it's only got 230 HP. Maushold can very easily get knocked out. That attacking Pokemon is going to take a lot of damage, and maybe even take a knockout with the ability alone. Its attack isn't terrible either. Greedy Fangs does work with a double turbo. You can just draw 2 cards. Drawing 2 cards isn't terrible, and then, of course, it does work for a single energy attachment with the double turbo energy. So, I don't know, Maushold's like perfectly fine. It's not the greatest card ever, but the ability is pretty unique nonetheless. It's like Chestnut V, where it's like, you don't attack me when I got all these Pokemon in play, and it is nice that it doesn't have to just be the X's. You can, stack Tandemauses and Mausholds in play. So again, if you just have a full board of them, this ability is going to do quite a bit of damage to the attacking Pokemon. So that's really cool. So I'm excited to see what people cook up with Tandemaus. One of my more favorite EXs we've seen in a while. We got this new Esferatha, with All Seen. When you play it from your hand to evolve on your Pokemon, during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage from and effects of attacks on this Pokemon. Kind of got that immunity for a turn. Its attack is like mid, though. It only does 70. If you have a Tulip in your discard pile, it does 70 more damage. So 140. I mean, the ability's nice, but I don't think its like attack is worth building it around, even though the ability is nice to have. I just don't think it's the greatest card ever. Now we got the return of a pretty impactful card, and that is Counter Catcher. This is what got people excited about these new card reveals. So Counter Catcher is coming back in the format, and this is a very, very good card that is coming back. Now, we already have a bunch of comeback mechanic cards like Iono and Reversal Energy, and this is now just another one that is going to come back that will make a big impact, in my opinion. So, it's a free boss's order on an item card if you're behind in prizes. So, obviously, this only works if you're behind in prizes, but with the way the game is right now, it's not that hard to do. And you get to basically get a free Gust. Now, the nice thing about Counter Catcher is that you actually get to use it in combination with a draw supporter. So you get basically a boss's order and a supporter to draw you cards in the same turn. So you can do Iono and Counter Catcher in the same turn, which is a pretty deadly combo. I mean, in the early game, this is not bad. In the late game, this could be really good. I mean, imagine the late game, your opponent has like a Bibarel or something in play, right? You Counter Catcher their Bibarel, you knock it out, and you also get to Iono them, and then you put their hand low while also carrying their draw engine with a Gust. That's one of the strong traits about Counter Catcher. It's also good just in general. I mean, even if you kind of fall behind a couple prizes, like Gardevoir may play this, to be honest. Shenpao could play this too. Just being able to get a free Gust in the form of an item is just really, really strong. And I think Counter Catcher is a very powerful card. It's good for, like, I mean, I hate to say it, control decks kind of get a bit of a boost by Counter Catcher coming back, because control doesn't ever take prizes, so now control can, like, abuse Counter Catcher, which is honestly kind of scary to think about. But yeah, Counter Catcher is a very big card to come back. Not every deck is going to play it. Obviously, decks that play a little bit more aggressively, like Arceus, Lugia, the Mew even probably won't even play this. Like, those type of decks are probably not going to play Counter Catcher. Actually, I could see Mew playing Counter Catcher. Mew could play Counter Catcher. I can see that happening. But overall, like, aggressive decks like that aren't going to play Counter Catcher. Like, I don't think Lugia's ever going to play this. Same with Arc decks. Mew probably not. But slower decks, you know, something like Charizard EX could play this. Charizard actually playing Counter Catcher could be pretty insane, actually. Gardevoir EX might play this. Those, like, slower to set up decks are going to like Counter Catcher. More faster tempo decks like Lugia and stuff, they're probably not going to want to play Counter Catcher, because a lot of the time they're going to be either tied in prizes or they're going to be try to be ahead of prizes. But slower paced decks definitely can abuse this. And it's another nice late game comeback card where even if you don't use it early on, you can use it in the late game in combination with a late game Iono to a low hand size to make it really hard for the opponent to do anything. So very big card. Can be really good against stuff like Bibarel, and even like against Shenpao, this could be good to like gust out the Baxcaliburs and playing Iono within the same turn. So yeah, very important card to come back. I'm excited. It's not a card you're going to need 4 of. You probably just need 1 or 2 of, but it's definitely a card that will be very impactful in my opinion, even if you only play 1 or 2 in a deck at a time. Finally, we got Snorlax doll here. Now, I first thought this was like Lily's Pokédoll, but it's not. If this card is in your hand when you are setting up, you may put it face down in place if it were a 120 HP colorless Pokemon. So I can't play it any other time. So you can only use this on your opening hand. So I thought this was like Lily's Pokédoll, where you could play it down anytime you want. That'd be a little too gross. But this does work when you're at the start of the game. Now, it only works when you're setting your hand up. So it's not like you can like draw into it on your first turn and play it down. You can only play it if it's in your starting hand. It's very similar to the Luxray in the format where you can also put an active spot when it's in your starting hand. So it's basically the same thing. Yeah, it's a cool effect. I mean, it is nice that it's not Lily's Pokédoll. I'm not a fan of these doll cards like Robo-Sub and Lily's Pokédoll. I always found to be pretty toxic cards. And this card, thankfully, is not the same. I thought it was at first when I first read it, but people are like, no, man, it's not. You can only play it when you're setting up your prizes. I didn't see that at first. But yeah, basically, it's a Lily's Pokédoll. Anytime during your turn, you can discard it from play. This card can't retreat or be affected by special conditions. And if this card is knocked out, your opponent can't take any prizes for it. So it does act as like that little sub. This could be pretty cool to play in like a hit and run deck, I guess, if you can start with it. I mean, I don't think this card is very good. Again, you do have to start with it, which is kind of the issue with the Snorlax doll. It has to be in your opening hand when you're setting up. And if it's not, otherwise the card is dead. At that point, you'd rather just have Battle VIP Pass as that similar effect. So not a great card, but it kind of scared me at first. But there you go. Those are some new cards that got revealed in Paradox Rift. These cards will be coming out very soon. And with pre-releases coming up this weekend, I think it's going to be a pretty good time to try to get your hands on some of these new cards, especially if you want to try to pick up some counter catchers for your deck. But let me know what you think of these new cards down below. What do you think of the new EXs? What do you think of the Counter Catcher reprint? What decks do you think Counter Catcher will see playing it? What do you think Counter Catcher is going to do to meta? Do you think it's going to be a good card for the game, or do you think it's going to be a bad card for the game? I'd like to hear down below in the comment section here on the Shuffle Squad. But thanks for watching the video here on today's video. If you did, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, once again, subscribe down below here to the Shuffle Squad. And yeah, I'll catch you all on another video here on our channel, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Hey trainers, tired of having too many cards lying around? I know that feeling, and I know what a hassle it is to try and sell those cards. But Selling bulk is now easier than ever with TCG Bulk. Find tons of potential buyers in a single place. You just download the app, look for the best buyer near you, and carefully pack your bulk, ship it, and you get paid. It really is that simple. Turn the cards you don't want into the cards you absolutely need for your next deck. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.